you're looking very celestial.
Oh yeah, that's to prevent you from seeing just how ugly the rest of the room is, really.
That's cool. So good to speak to you. Thanks for talking to the Rock Pit again. I can't believe
Absolutely. It's been a bit.
it's been about a year, I think.
Yeah.
It's wonderful to have you back. I mean, I can't believe we're getting to see TYKETTO twice in the space of 12 months.
Yeah, I'm pretty knocked out by it, I gotta say. I was a little hesitant when Silverback came right back and said, "Look, we've had such an amazing response to you guys, at the festival. We want to bring you back on your own." I was like, "Yeah, really?" It's like because the festival lost, the Brisbane show last year,
Mm,
and I just thought, I don't know if I can go to Australia for two shows again.
yeah,
It was so fast and 23 hours in, 23 hours out, and we were just lucky that we had that one full day off in Melbourne where
mm,
we got to just hang out with friends, and Cassidy and Tom took us around. And but normally the schedule, as it isn't like that. It's fly in, do the gigs, go home.
yeah. It's cool. Sadly, we went to Brisbane, so we had to quickly make it down to Sydney for that one. But
Yeah.
we'll be in Melbourne this time, so we'll definitely catch up at
Cool.
at
Wait a
some
second.
point.
I'm gonna turn this one overhead light off. It's just really bright on my head here. Let's see if that's going to be too dark now.
No, it's
Is that all
cool.
right?
That's all good.
Okay.
Yeah. So, funnily enough, I was talking to Mike Tramp yesterday.
How is he?
He's good. He's coming over after you, which is another one of those strange coincidences where you think, first of all, you guys all together in 1991, and now all of a sudden Mike's here, and oh no, he's here before. He's here straddling my birthday, and then
Right.
you guys come afterwards. But yeah, he's not been here for a while. I used to live down the road from him when he was living in Melbourne many years ago. So
Oh, did he? Did he? Did
yeah,
he live someplace like Tasmania for a while too?
yeah, I think he was in Tasmania first, and then
Yeah.
just moved over the water to Melbourne. So much.
That's a long way from Denmark, isn't it?
It's a long way, yeah. And he was in New York. Interestingly, he said he'd just been by the statue where they shot the cover of the first White Lion album.
Oh yeah, that would have been the New York Public Library.
Yeah, Fight to Survive, where that picture was taken. So it's
Mhm.
pretty cool. It's so much to talk about because a year for me means I've got loads of questions. I love the Q&A thing that you're doing, by the way.
Yeah, I'm wondering if I'm glad to know that. It's hard for me to know if anybody's particularly watching. Some of them are like 6, 7 minutes,
Yeah.
and there's a couple of the questions that I've been asked that I'm trying to figure out how to pare down the answers. Like people want to know like about my songwriting technique, how I do whatever I'm doing, and it's like that could take a while.
I think they're the hard ones, aren't they? I mean, I love the one about keyboardists in Taiketo because that I thought
Yeah, that was a
was pretty
great question. I can't remember anybody asking that specifically. And then when I thought about it, I was like, wow, yeah, we originally were a keyboard band, and
cool.
then it didn't work. And then I think there was part of that. Well, now we only have to split the money four ways. So it kind of stayed that way.
I'm sure that came into it at some point, I must admit. It's yeah, so 35 years after that 1991, well, 34 years after that 1991 date, you're back in Australia, selling well. Everyone I spoke to after GlamFest, you were the band that people were talking
Well,
about.
that's wonderful. I'm
So
glad to hear that because I certainly saw a bunch of the other bands, and there was a lot of good stuff going on at GlamFest. I was really impressed with some of the Australian talent that I saw, as well as there were bands that I wasn't familiar with. Um, if there's anything I came away with just kind of scratching my head is that I'm surprised the amount of bands that are using tracks to
yeah.
boost their sound.
Yes, we did talk about that, didn't we, a little bit?
Yeah, that kind of surprised me, especially since some of the groups they're quite, the music's quite raw. It's quite, punchy rock and roll. I'm like, don't know why you need that. Just well,
No,
it's down to choice.
and as we all
No
know,
doing
TYKETTO,
rhyming. It was just stuff that
yeah,
was kind of bolstering the middle.
yeah, and as we all know, TYKETTO is always 100% live. So
Yeah, for better or for worse, that's what you get.
it's great times for you. I mean, as a fan myself and someone who has obviously been talking to you for the last 15 years while we've had the website going, it's wonderful to see how it's gone. I mean, you were the very first person who talked to me, which
Yeah, that's right. I
I'll
remember you saying
always thank you for that. But it's wonderful to see like how things have changed for you over the 15 years. I mean, you've released one of my favorite albums, your solo album. You've released one of my favorite TYKETTO albums, and now you're doing tours. You're doing big festival shows. Back on the Monsters of Rock cruise next year again, which was a wonderful experience when I saw you there back in 2015. Again, to do some wonderful lineups like the Uriah Heep and April
that.
Wine, which comes pretty much after you finished with us down here.
Yeah, almost directly. In fact, I'm flying straight to the UK and just spending 2 days sleeping in a hotel just to readjust my time clock, and then we're off. And the thing that works to our advantage there is that the Australian shows are going to be the full whack, 90 minutes plus of TYKETTO songs. So we'll be well rehearsed. And then Uriah Heep shows, it's 7 songs, it's 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's just going to be, hit them with everything you got, and hope that people show up early enough to be there when we go on.
I must admit, I can't wait for a full set. That's something I've been looking for. I forward to for a long time. I remember writing a review for the university magazine that I was at of the TYKETTO and White Line show at the time, which I sort of recycle years later on the website. And I remember my biggest complaint was that you played a cover version at the Rock City show. Train.
Oh, it's Train. Okay,
I,
yeah.
I know, I
Funny
know,
because
I know you're a big fan, but
oh yeah,
I saw that you dropped that directly after that show and didn't play it for a few.
yeah. Well, we've done a few different ones. I've been having a lot of fun with fans have been sending in tickets from tours, and some have held on to. It's amazing that people held on to these things, set lists.
Yeah,
And so I'm looking at the set list for 94, 95, and it's very telling that Forever Young is either the first song or the second song. And you could just tell that at that point in our lives, we were like, let's just get this over with. Let's get that one out of the way. Well, the dumbest thing you could do. It was completely arrogant and stupid. It's like that one tour where the Eagles opened up with Hotel California. Why would you do that? It's just dumb.
yeah.
But we were like, no, we're doing it our way.
Yeah. But I mean, it is like we've talked about before. It's one of those songs you've got to. There's a lot of energy involved in that particular song as well. So I can imagine doing it early in a set would have been quite interesting.
Yeah, for me, it's a rod from my own back, that one, because we do need to do it last, and just trying to get the breath for that, and trying to hold that long note at the end that I held 30 something years ago. It's a rod for my own back, that one, but it's back in the back of the set where it belongs.
Yeah, I make it the 23 and 24. I think were your busiest years since the 90s.
Absolutely. I don't know why, how, but I'm not questioning it. We're being asked now to headline mid-level festivals. We've been asked back on big festivals where we hadn't been invited for many years.
Yeah.
Like you say, the presence is kind of picking up, and it's not like we're doing 100 shows a year. I mean, I think last year we did 30 shows or something like that, but they've been well placed, and it's good because it keeps you in the public eye, and it also keeps the public reminded is that first and foremost, TYKETTO is a damn fine live band, and that was always been our focus. Um, so I just think people come away always going, well, that was value for money. They really put it out there. So
And I think that's why that was the cool thing about GlamFest. Obviously, with a festival like that, you're going to have people who are going to be aware of you. But I was blown away talking to people afterwards who obviously had never seen you because the majority of the audience were Australian and
yeah, of course.
you'd not been over before, but who had not quite anticipated how fantastic that particular performance was. So I got to see the Sydney show, but I hear the Melbourne show might have been even better than that. So now we've got 4 dates. You're going as far as Adelaide, but you've made me get on a plane again. So I got to do my, it's the equivalent of London to Moscow. So I've got to do my Perth to Melbourne flight to come over and see you there, and then hopefully slip over to Sydney as well.
I can't remember. Is Perth where you're at?
Yeah.
I couldn't remember that. It's funny. I was just talking to my wife about that. Perth is, again, you remember I was there ages ago with the
With the
Ultimate
Eagles, yeah, and we
and
came and said
we
hi
did,
after the show.
yeah, we did quite a few shows as well as New Zealand, and it was like one of the best trips I ever took.
Yeah.
Again, because there was time, and you got. But I found that Perth was such a different type of city from all the others.
Yes,
Maybe it's location.
it is. I mean, it's basically with the West Coast, very like California.
Right.
George Lynch once said to me, "It's like California without the people," and that's how I like to think of it. It's a very similar coastline, fantastic beaches.
Right.
It's a long, thin city, but it would be great to get you over next time.
I remember it's perhaps this is a incorrect impression, but Perth was the only city in the time that I was there, and again, preface that was saying every city's visit was very brief. A lot of time it was just like shopping centers. But Perth was the only city I remember seeing what I thought of as a thriving Aboriginal community. The Aboriginals I encountered in Sydney were all sadly very down and out, bad way of things. And in Perth, I saw Aboriginal shop owners, just like people living their lives like normal,
Yeah.
And I don't know why that really left an impression on me.
Yeah, as it should be. I mean, it's like a big country town, really. I guess Perth. So Melbourne's where it's at, though. That's where I was when I used to live down the road from Mike Tramp, which is it's a fantastic place, good rock and roll city.
It is.
We've
had a great time there twice. I've got some friends that live there, so I've gotten the royal tour around, and it's I don't know what the name of it is, but that very tall war memorial that's in Melbourne.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that was a very, very moving experience to go in there and see all of that.
In the botanical gardens there. It's pretty cool. It's nice. Hopefully we're gonna get a set list full of hits. Any deep cuts? I was listening to Reach the other day, and I didn't read my review, but there's some fantastic songs on there that I don't think you've even played, like Tearing Down the Sky, Sparks Will Fly, stuff like that.
Yeah, we did Tearing Down the Sky the last tour we put it in. It was one that a few people had requested. I got to be honest, I think for Australia it's going to be very heavily favored in the first 2 records.
Yeah. Well,
because there's people that have never seen us, so we want to make sure we play the songs that they know. So there might be 1 or 2 Reach tracks, I think, but I think that's limited to that this time.
Yeah,
Third time out might be different. We'll see.
Yeah, maybe Circle of Wagons, hopefully.
Yeah, maybe.
We might get that.
When by the next time I see you, it should be have some new songs out there. New album coming. I'm in the studio working on the songs as we speak.
That was one of the things I most wanted to ask you, and I was going to say that's a bit later. There's a few anniversaries. Obviously, it was the 30 years of Strength last year. Phenomenal. An album that still stands the test of time for me. 10 years since Reach, though. Hence why I was going to.
It's getting there. Yeah, Reach was 2016, so
Yeah,
yeah, it's 8 on it.
yeah. 40 years since Wasted Saving Grass.
Yeah, that's the stuff that dates me right there. Yeah,
Crazy.
Johnny D, Johnny D is now the drummer in TYKETTO, and
Yeah, it's
he sent me
crazy.
a text a few days ago. He says, "Welcome to our 40th anniversary." I'm like, "Wow, we've known each other a long time."
Yeah, and an incredible 25 years this year since one of my favorite of your albums, I think, Soldiers and Sailors,
Hmm.
which was very cool.
God, really? 25 years?
Yeah, no, it's
Yeah,
crazy, isn't it? These things
it is.
just keep clicking on. Wow. But yeah,
Yeah, I'm trying to get see if I can somehow dig out the original masters for that and try and get that on vinyl.
oh, that would be
I think
so
that would
cool.
be a good sounding vinyl.
Yeah, that would be incredible. I'd love to hear that and add that to my collection.
Yeah, there's a couple companies interested, and I'm in touch with the studio where we recorded it, but unfortunately, 25 years ago, the
Yeah,
whatever whatever format we recorded it in is probably so outdated that you won't be able to find machines to play the original masters on.
yeah. And extract everything. Yeah, it would be cool. It's a great album, great part of the legacy. The new album then. Let's talk about that. How long has it been in the making? Because it's been.
Not long. Yeah, not long. This is one of those things where, we contractually owed Frontiers another record, and COVID kind of threw a spanner in the works for all of that. So we all just kind of walked away saying, okay, let's wait and see what happens. And quite honestly, I didn't give it much of a thought. I've gotten involved in so many other projects in the last couple of years. During COVID, I took it as an opportunity to do something I've always wanted to get involved in. And so I'm composing incidental music for TV and things like that. And I love doing it because it can be anything.
Yeah.
It's not like they come to me and say, right, you're the rock guy, give us rock and roll. I've done ska, I've done classical, I've done country, and whatever they call for. I've done hip hop. It's like, yeah, bring it on. Let me try it. It's been so much fun, and I've really just focused on that. And it was only kind of in the middle of last year where Frontiers was like, hey, it's album time. I was like, oh shit, it is, isn't it? And so we've been doing our best to kind of keep them at bay. But yeah, we hope to have the new record out at the end of this year. So October,
Fantastic.
November, something like that. So to answer your question, it's something I've never done before, which I'm in the middle of, like this whole month, half of December, all of January, some of February. I'm in the studio every day writing.
Oh, wow.
Um, and it'll be the first. And that's not saying that I'm not picking from a few older ideas that I still thought had merit, but digging them out, refreshing them, all that sort of thing. Some of the other guys are contributing some great stuff, so there'll be some great co-writes in there. I've written a song with Jim Peterick from Survivor, which I
Cool.
think fans are really going to like. So yeah, we're getting there. I think I'm 7 songs deep right now, so we're on our way.
All right. So we're looking at 10. So we just got three more. So we've got
10 to 12, depending on how prolific we are. But yeah, 10 for sure.
so we've got to inspire you when you come over so you can write us some sort of Australian anthem.
You got plenty.
We got a few. But yeah, so myths, legends, and lies. Obviously, last time we talked about the idea of doing some of the movie stuff, and obviously the diversity of myths, legends, and lies was something I found completely wonderful. And I guess it's too early to think about. Have you amassed any songs for maybe a solo
Oh,
project?
it's not too early at all. I got a whiteboard over here with about 30 ideas on it. And no, I don't think I don't know how it's going to be possible, but I really wanted to actually also record another solo album this year. Whether or not I can manage it, because our schedule now is pretty beefed up at the moment, but I am in writing mode right now. And so when that happens, it's not like a faucet you turn on and off. And it's not always something you control. So this morning, even though I've been working really hard on this set of TYKETTO songs, my brain went, "Hey, you know that idea you had for your new solo album? We're going to do this morning." I'm like, oh, leave me alone. The gremlins, I call them. They're always working back there.
It's
But
great.
then these ideas
Yeah,
started spitting out. So, you just grab pen and paper, iPhone, just get it down, save it, and just hold on to it for when you're ready. So, but yeah, I've actually got the songs for another solo album. It's a matter of putting the demos together and getting them to the players that I want to use, because I want to use the same guys
yeah.
and the same studio as Myths. It was such a great experience.
Yeah, it works so well. So tell us about the new guys in the band. We've obviously your keyboardist, Mr. Rylands, has been with you for a while now. Probably
Yeah,
about
12 years
12
now.
years, isn't it? Yeah. But the new guys that we got to see, I guess Chris is back, is he, for this tour? Or
Yeah, it's funny, Chris was part of the Ultimate Eagles when I was in it too, and he missed Australia that time too. So,
right.
this will be the first time he gets to come with us. Um, but yeah, and it was such a shame he was double booked. Well, we got very, very lucky in that, we were able to bring over Wayne White, who's
Hmm.
a monster
He's
and a really, really great guy, great player. And he was just so chuffed to visit Australia for the first time in his life. Um, but yeah, so this is the band that's coming this time, all of us. And so you've got, the newest, shiniest member is Harry Scott Elliott on guitar.
yeah.
Harry was with Caned, a band of three sisters that we had met. Oh, it was one of the Hard Rock Hells. They had introduced themselves, and I was quite impressed with what they were all capable of doing. And at a later date, they ended up opening up for us on the Strength in Numbers reunion anniversary tour. But we met Harry because when we did this project called We've Got Tomorrow, We've Got Tonight,
Yeah.
where we put together classic TYKETTO songs, but done completely differently with horns, strings, and we had backing vocalists, and they were the Kane sisters. So Kane also was the opening act for that. We did 2 nights, which we filmed. And so Harry was part of that, and Harry and Chris really hit it off. And they're both like right up there as far as how talented they are. Both are as guitarists. So when after COVID, both Chris and Michael came to me and said, I know you're going to be looking to get started again. I just don't see it for me. They both just wanted, they got those 2 years home, and that's where they wanted to be. So the thing I'm proudest of is there's no drama involved at all. It was just like, okay. And I said, well, I'll probably fold the tent up. And both Michael and Chris were like, why? I said, well, one original member, all the shit you're going to catch for that and all that. And both of them said, look, as long we feel anyway, as long as it's you singing those songs, people will come, so they kind of pushed me to stick with it. And so getting around to Harry, I approached Chris. I mean, because that's Chris, Brooke, these are big shoes, and so I said, how do you feel about Harry? Because I saw him play and I thought he was quite amazing. He's got a great look, and he's a real sweetheart of a guy. And Chris was like, that's absolutely who I would pick, to take the slot. So that was how he got the call. And then Johnny D was almost, strangely enough, an afterthought, because as mentioned, Johnny and I played in Wasted together, and he's the first person I thought of, but then immediately dismissed because he's been Doro's drummer for 30 years and they tour a lot. And I just thought he's never going to have the time. And then I also thought, if he finds out I was looking for a drummer and I didn't at least give him a courtesy call, he'll never forgive me. So I gave him the courtesy call, and he was like, yeah, absolutely. I'm like, what? And he said, yeah, I'm in. And I'm like, okay, and he's been really great about juggling both bands. It's sometimes we've been double booked, and I think even appeared on the same festival where he's had to do double duty.
Yeah.
But he is an absolute road warrior, and being reunited, he and I really got each other through those wasted days, because some of it was great fun, and some of it was really hard.
Yeah.
And us being the two new guys and the Americans and the outsiders in the whole, because it wasn't just the band, it was management and everything. We kind of kept each other going. So it was really nice to have that back. And he's just like the easiest guy to travel with. And so it's a very calm ship, TYKETTO, at the moment, which it hasn't always been. I'm usually stirring shit up and making everybody frantic, and I don't have to do that now.
Well, it's fantastic. It sounds like it's going to be a wonderful year for you, all in all. You mentioned something that, like, I found quite interesting there, where you said you've sort of like sat down, you forced yourself to write, you've booked in these days. Does the pressure work for you? Is that something where you've got a deadline, you've got 3 weeks or whatever it might be to get something done? Is that something that you find inspirational, or is it?
My initial response would be no, but I think, well, the thing is this is when the album comes out and you hear the songs, that will tell you the answer. Because if they're obviously shitty songs that sounds like they've been rushed through, then no, the pressure didn't work for me. But if they're good, then yes, it did. So
Okay.
I think the proof is going to be in the songs.
I'll put that bit
as
in
far as just motivating me and getting me into the studio and working and all that, I am glad of it. Because I'm a procrastinator, and I will find there's always other stuff to do. There's clothes to be washed, dishes to be cleaned, bills to be paid, et cetera, all the things of life. And then you finish that and you go, oh, I'm too tired to go in the studio now. I don't have that luxury now. So yeah, there is something to be said for, having the kick in the pants, really.
Yeah. Well, let's hope it works then. In that case, I'll let you know at the end of the year.
Yeah, exactly. That'll be for everyone to judge then.
Yeah, I mean, to be perfectly blunt, I think there are a few bands for me that have come back as strongly as you guys did with Digging Deep and Reach. Like, after so many years, you just don't expect that you're going to be able to recapture the quality of those original albums. But I think you came as close as anyone has done for me.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
It's great.
Yeah, and
not
the
even
bar's up too. That's another bit of pressure, is that even sonically, we were able to do some things that bands with our budgets normally don't get to do. We recorded Reach at Rockfield Studios. I mean, and since then they've raised their prices, so I'm not sure we'll be able to do it again. But we're looking. There are certain places and certain engineers and all that add to the final sonic thing that you hear, and that's all that stuff behind the scenes stuff that we were very, very fortunate with. So yeah, we have to see how the chips fall for us this time.
But the demos are sounding good.
Yeah, I'm sending stuff out to the guys every day or two. So here's something new, whatever, and I'm getting good responses. And I think one of the good signs is that there are certain songs that I find myself kind of randomly humming when I'm not thinking about it. So if they're staying in my head, that's usually a good sign.
It is. It is. We've just got a couple of things we'd love for you to do. If it's not too much to ask, we've had about half an hour of your time. Obviously, the main thing is to promote the shows. Are you playing Adelaide as well? I think you'll love Adelaide as well. Have you not been there before?
I think we did with the Ultimate Eagles, but I can't.
Yeah.
I'd have to actually look in my journal to see.
It's
Again, Adelaide might have been one of those cities where I just didn't get any time,
yeah.
to really see it. So I don't know.
It's a lovely city and nice place to visit. I think you'll find it quite similar to Perth. I'll just have to remind Danny, the other Danny, send you over to the West next time.
Yeah, well, I think, slow build. I had hoped that he would bring us over as part of a package,
Yeah.
opening up for, somebody like Skid Row or something like that. So again, I was kind of surprised he went for the headline thing. It's like, okay, I don't even know what band he's going to be, having open for us on these shows. What's going on.
Yeah, I can tell you that. It's Rusty, the singer from Australian band called Electric Mary.
I know that band.
Yeah, they've supported bands like Whitesnake and stuff like that in the past when they've been over here.
Right.
Lovely guy, fantastic singer, and yeah, I think it'll go down well. Very, very good local band to support you, which is fantastic.
That's good to know.
So we talked about the anniversaries. I wondered if I'm going to ask you a question that I asked you last 15 years ago. So,
was the answer no good?
Just to see if it's changed. Because I asked Mike Tramp the same question, and his was exactly the same for exactly the same reasons. So
okay,
let's see if yours has changed. If you could have been a fly on the wall for the creation of any great album in the history of rock and roll, what's the one you would love to have seen being made? I know it's boring in the studio, really, but let's just imagine it's all compressed down and you get to see the good bits.
Probably Exile on Main Street, Rolling Stones comes to my mind.
Yeah.
Just the sheer insanity of it and that in creative intensity. I think in Keith Richards' book, he said at one point, he set his record for, he was awake 9 days straight, just jamming heroin into his arms and just creating. And it was all down to him. He would just like go wake the guys up out of sleep. Come on, we're recording now. And he was like hard about it. I don't know if I could have managed to keep up, but watching that go down would have been interesting.
Yeah. That would have been cool. And I never asked you this one. It was one of our stock questions back in the day. And when I was reading through the interviews to try and not ask you anything the same again, I've never asked you this one. Can music change the world?
It does. Yeah. I think it does change the world. Okay, so those adverts that come on when a tragedy has struck, let's say what's happening in LA right now, and there'll be a plea for help, right? Now the images will move you a bit, but I guarantee you, if you're moved, it's because somebody's put on this tragic music behind it. And it takes you, just take that music out. It's so essential to getting people to potentially contribute in a situation like that. Take music out of a movie. It's because I'm doing more of this soundtrack, not movie soundtrack stuff, but TV stuff. I've become painfully aware of the fact that if you're about to get the shit scared out of you, the music is telling you that, not the movie. Before it happens, you're just looking at a screen, there's nothing going on, but the music is hitting these tones and doing this, and you don't realize you're responding to it. So can music change the world? I feel it has such a powerful influence on us emotionally. And I always feel like if the right music got to the right people, and I guarantee you that there are loads of people that we look at from afar and do not like very much, they don't listen to a lot of music. I almost guarantee you.
Yeah,
certain politicians who we won't name. It's just like you can tell music has no effect on them, and that's, to me, anybody who's not affected by music is someone I want to avoid.
I can't completely agree. I just can't. It's beyond my comprehension. I can't understand why people wouldn't listen to music when it's such a beautiful thing, and it can pull you out of all kinds of personal misery and things like that. It can. I can put on certain records and they'll instantly change my mood, and I think that's the beauty of it. It can be a small thing, but if we all come together, we can still do some beautiful things.
Yeah, sure. There are certain pieces of music that it just does not matter how many times I hear. Um, Barber's Adagio for strings will break me down. I will like physically cry. I can't. There's something in the movement of those notes together, whatever it is. It's like they said there's only 12 of them. It's all how you put them together and what they do and what they create. So that's a one, for me. But yeah, they're like you say, what mood do you need? There's so many. What's the album you put on when you're driving? That kind of thing. There's some just great. Got to go on a long trip, like you got it behind you. Eagles record will do it,
Well, interestingly, it was Volume 1 and Volume 2 I had on when I did a long drive the other day. So, so that was the one for me.
Yeah, and if you want to drive fast, you play the album that's next to it. Highway to Hell.
Highway to Hell. My favorite AC/DC. That's right. They're the two that are going. Well, thank you so much for talking to us today, Danny. It's always fantastic to catch up. Weeks. Take care, my friend.
All right, Mark. Thank you for everything. Be well.
Thanks, mate. Bye.
Bye-bye.